you think that this is a job for, big, strong man. Oh, no. I mean, this is a job for somebody with empathy,
Mm.
who's got experience in understanding and basically understanding emotions.
Hi, my name is Abahi, and I am a claims adjuster. If I can help you make money in this very lucrative industry, would you let me? Stay tuned because coming up next, I interview Sean McElgin. He is a public adjuster. He's in his 50s, and I wanted you to hear from him because most of you, my audience, are over the age of 45. So I wanted you to hear from him. I'm actually going to do a series on people who are in the business and they're over 50. So how
Yeah.
did you find out about public adjusting?
The same way most people do. I answered an ad. I was looking around for something, and then, of course, being in lockdown, this wasn't going to be something where I was going to work outside of home. And so I started looking for something where I might be able to work from my desk, in the house, whatever. And I came across this thing, and I sat down and I said, "Yeah, I'd really like to do this." And I get a call from John Mesco, and he says, "Hey, I'm coming down to Virginia. I'd love to meet you, and we can sit down and go over some of this stuff and get you started." And I said, "Well, okay, that sounds good." So he came to my house.
So with that being your experience, my goal today is to talk about, this being the for career changers, second,
Okay.
third, fourth career. You are building a team. Who your team, the demographic, what would you say? Age wise, gender wise, area?
Okay. My demographics, kind of interestingly enough, I have several people who are coming out of or thinking of coming out of the real estate business.
Yeah,
Uh, Age anywhere from like 58 to 63, 64. I have one person that was 68 years old.
nice.
Um, Predominantly female,
Okay.
which is kind of an interesting thing. I mean, you think that this is a job for, big, strong man. Oh, no. I mean, this is a job for somebody with empathy,
Mm,
who's got experience in understanding and basically understanding emotions, because
mm,
that's really the big part of this whole thing. You're dealing with one of the most emotional kinds of business transactions you can ever think of, because you're dealing with the most valuable possession that these people have that has been damaged, and they're
right.
trying to get it back to where it was. And so I mean, very rarely do I find a situation where somebody just shrugs their shoulders and goes, "Oh yeah, get to it when you can."
Exactly.
It never works like that. There's a lot of baggage that's attached to this. And so being empathetic is really important. You really got to put yourself in the other person's shoes when you're talking to them, because that way you'll understand, exactly how important whatever it is that you're doing for them really is. I got a couple of folks that are in their late 30s who are very good at this. But at the same time, I have a lot of people that just, they're waiting for you to pay them their $10 an hour, you know, and they're young because they don't really understand the whole concept of building your own business, which
Right.
is essentially what we're doing here.
Right.
I mean, I came into this thing with my back against the wall. I didn't have a job.
Okay.
Okay. So, I mean,
Okay.
in my situation, sometimes you take a leap, and in the literal sense of the word, you take a leap. And that's what I did,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I started in this business. I didn't get going as fast as I could have or should have. And, a lot of that's attributable to the fact that there's a lot of distance between where John is up in New Jersey and where I am in Virginia. So getting together was not always the option.
Yeah.
So I ended up training myself, and I ended up doing it slowly.
Yeah.
I wasn't comfortable with just jumping in and doing something and making a big mistake. I made mistakes anyway. I didn't need to do it quickly. I mean, in the beginning, I was, kind of flailing around. I had a couple of, not really good claims as a result of it, because I really didn't understand what I was doing. But I would go back and I would review these things and sort of cut out the bad stuff, and start working on the things that actually made sense and were positive and were contributory towards a successful outcome.
Yeah, that's interesting because I also jumped in with no other income. I mean, I was doing Uber,
Right, you
just
said
a
that.
little bit. Yeah, just and I was doing a little bit of work with the roofing company, and I would find other roofers to work with. And I mean, there was definitely no steady check coming in.
Hmm.
I was living at home with my mom, at the time. I remember I think right before I passed my licenses test, I think this either the day before I filed for bankruptcy. I mean,
Oh, wow.
I was really in the hole at the time. And so it was like then the next day I took my PA test and I flew out that very same day to Vegas to meet up with the team for the GoPro event. But and so I too started slow with Metro when I came. Actually, it took me 9 months to even get the license because I was really like
Hmm.
trying to find work all over the place to and so I did start slow too. What makes this a great business for them being, getting into insurance and working as a public adjuster and working with Metro?
Well, for one thing, we are working in an area that most people don't really understand at all. Okay, we're dealing with claims on residential or commercial property. Most of the people at that age demographic either have had a house or currently own a house. Okay. And so when you're dealing with that, number one, it becomes very easy to relate. Okay. You can basically say, now look at this. And they'll go, I never thought about that, and boom, all of a sudden the lights go on. So that's a reason that it makes a lot of sense for somebody that's in that age demographic. Okay. What I find is that when you're dealing with people that are in that age group, they've done a lot of the things that we require up front, just in different worlds. Okay, so they've had to take a test to qualify to be whatever their regional
Sure.
title was or whatever. They've had to do this, they've had to do that. They understand all of that, and so while they may not pass the test on the first go round, in fact, I've had a couple of them that have failed at that first shot, but
Yeah.
they stay with it. The other ones, it's kind of like, they throw their hands up in the air and they say, oh, the heck with it, and they disappear. Okay, you basically get ghosted. And that's okay. I understand that. I've actually had several of them that just dropped off the face of the earth, and like 10 months later I'm getting calls going, hey, remember me?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
remember you. Yeah, of course I do.
Yep.
Well, I have this happen to my house. Let's talk. So there's that. The other thing that I think is really important is that when you're in this age group, networking gets a little bit easier.
Okay.
And that's really a thing. I mean, you got to be able to interact with other professionals from other fields. I mean, the whole idea behind business, if you've ever been in a BNI group or LATIP or whatever you call it, one of the things about this is that you're meeting people in other careers. It's designed so that everybody's got a different kind of, work path, and you can trade thoughts, ideas, and help find somebody a better way to do their job, and they're helping you do yours. The business that I'm working in right now, since March 1st, I have put 55 claims up on the board.
Nice.
Okay, from one company.
Nice.
Okay, I am working. You mentioned roofers earlier. I'm working with a roofing company here who that realized very early on that the clients that they were dealing with were getting shafted by their insurance companies, and they didn't know what to do because the insurance companies, they're not going to talk to a roofer. I mean,
Right.
roofers don't have any standing at all in the insurance world, right? So they basically give them short shrift. They brought me in and said, have a look at these claims. And I looked at about 4 or 5 of them. Every one of them was solid. The thing I liked about what these guys do is that they absolutely photograph everything on the roof. Okay, they get up
Nice.
on that roof and they take pictures of everything that they do. When they do a test square, photos. When they see hail, circle it, photos. When they see soft metal damage, bam, again, same thing. When they see this, that, and the other thing, they're doing all of that and they're photographing it. It's not uncommon for me to get a claim with 140 pictures from these guys.
Nice.
So
Nice.
all I have to do is a perimeter review and make sure there was nothing in the house that got, that there was penetration to the house. And if there's not, well, then we have an exterior claim. If there is, then of course we add the other part of the claim in there as well, which you can do as a supplemental if you find it, no matter what.
Right.
But at this point, they're giving me practically ready claims, but they cannot close on them because they're not licensed in the business.
Right.
You got to be. The only way that the insurance companies are going to speak with you in any way, besides telling you to get out of their face, is if you carry a license.
Right.
I mean, so my job is to basically go, momentito, what you said is not what your policy says.
Right.
Your policy says this. Now show me where in your policy it says this. And they can't. And so they'll
Exactly.
stall and do the same thing that they do with you. They send out boilerplate garbage and, try to basically baffle you with the BS as opposed to, dazzling their client. I mean, bottom line, people, and this is something that the young folks don't understand. If the insurance companies didn't behave the way they were, we wouldn't have a job. And I'll tell you right now, business is good.
Yeah.
That's an unfortunate truth. I mean, we are working our tails off on behalf of clients that are getting the short end of the stick from their insurance company.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My mom, when I first started, she's like, I hate that. I love that you have a job, but I hate that it's when people have, are in the worst spot, possible with their biggest asset. She's like, man, you got to go to work when people have damage, and it's like, somebody's got to take care of the people.
Right.
They just did a 2020 special. Even adjusters who they're wanting to pay, the money, the claim, and the estimate gets sent back to the insurance company. $400,000, all of a sudden it's 4,000.
Right. Yeah,
Right?
they trash them. Yeah.
They trash them.
There's there are class action lawsuits that are springing up all over the country right now. And
Correct.
they're going against a lot of the insurance companies. I'm not going to throw names out here, but there are a couple of big ones making their way through the courts in Oklahoma, in California. There may be one happening on the East Coast here in the not too distant future. Stand by for action.
Okay.
There's a lot of that sort of thing that's causing definitely strong antitrust kind of litigation.
Yeah.
And we're looking at an industry that is basically digging their own hole. Okay, I'm sorry. That's exactly what they're doing. They're digging their own hole. And the reason they can do that is because they have a bottomless supply
That's
of
what I
money.
was going to say. They can dig their hole, but they can fill it. They can fill it back up with another asset that they have. Also, too, I wanted to mention. You mentioned the number of pictures that you get from the roofing company. I know independent adjusters. They'll take 3 pictures of a room max, three
Right.
pictures of the roof, you know, and that's all you get. And you're talking about you get 140 just
Yeah.
on, just on the roof alone. That's awesome.
Right.
Because
I mean, and it makes my job so much easier because at that point, not only am I going to be able to speak back to the roofer about what we're seeing, because, I mean, the evidence is right there. I can take a look at a lifted shingle. I can take a look at hail dents. I can take a look at what the insurance company is calling blisters and prove that they're not.
right,
For one thing, blisters don't pop the granules into the shingle, I mean, as a quick example.
exactly.
Um, so all of that stuff really works towards helping them out. And I mean, we've got right now, I've got about 15 cases that are proceeding towards settlement. We haven't quite got there yet. We've gotten a partial payment on several of them, but it's not complete by any stretch of the imagination. But again, think about this for a second. I took the first claim for these guys on March the 4th.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And here it is, June the 6th. So March, April, May, 3 months. And we're already starting to get to a point where we're going to get settlements on behalf of our client.
Nice.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, this business, the one thing that's so frustrating about this business, and it is something that a lot of younger folks really, they run away from because they're really used to the whole concept of being paid an hourly wage, is that this can and will take a little time.
Yeah.
But the payoff at the end of this thing, once you get your cycle moving, the payoff, and it starts to happen more and more consistently, is significant. You're going to start seeing a regular paycheck. You're actually going to be directing your own paycheck. You're going to direct your own bonusing. You're going to direct all of that information by doing what you do. And it's very simple. You're helping people. I love to tell everybody on my team, I say, I want you to get up in the morning, look in the mirror, and say to yourself, I'm wearing a white hat today.
Yep.
And the young folks don't get that, but that's the old cowboy shows that used to happen. The guy in the white hat was always the good guy, right?
Okay.
And so basically just tell yourself that you're the white hat. You're the guy that's going to go out there and do the right thing for the right reasons. And
Awesome.
yeah, so that's why for me, I think that as a person over a certain age, this business makes a ton of sense because not only do you have career and life experiences already, which you do. I mean, regardless of what you've done, you have career and life experiences. I mean, you could be a truck driver. It doesn't make any difference. You understand the whole thing. And, so number one, you've got that body of knowledge to sort of fall back on. Number two, a lot of people look at this as a second career or a transition career. And that's perfectly acceptable. Okay.
Yep.
Test the water, put your feet in there, learn about what you're doing here and, take advantage of the time that you're given by having other employment to learn this business right so that you can really crank it up when it's time to go.